as I'm going through the footage, I could see now, like I'm going through, she spits in his face. Haksalugi in her husband's face just hours after they had said I do.
First off, she winds back.
She goes
to spit. She goes like,
and you see
in slow-mo.
In slow-mo, this stunning shot with the sun setting in the background, light leak coming through, and just it like the spray of her spit and it landing on his face, and I was like, holy.
Loverly presents The Wedding Podcast, a show for those on the road to I do. From relationship advice to wedding planning tips, we break it down. I'm your host, Kelly Khalil, bride-to-be and the founder of Loverly, a DIY wedding planning platform. Over the years, we've helped tens of thousands of couples get down the aisle. And now that it's my turn, I'm not holding back. I'm bringing in my besties, wedding pros, and some brides-to-be you may know to talk through everything from picking the perfect venue to mastering your relationship. It's time to plan smarter so you can focus on the happily ever after. You've got the ring, we've got the rest. This week, I am sitting down with literally my favorite Instagram and TikTok content creators, the husband and wife team, Alexander Madison and @JonBoof. Alex and Jon are hysterical. They create their content all around life after marriage and just the funny nuances of day-to-day life. We talk all about how they got started as content creators during the pandemic and their history in the wedding world as videographers. We also get the deep dive on their love story and their backyard wedding. This conversation was one of my favorites. They are hilarious. I hope you enjoy it. Alex and Jon, I feel like we're best friends just because of Instagram, and I feel like everyone thinks that about you guys.
Oh, thank you. We're so excited to be here and chat with you. I fell in love with you the second that I met you at the Loverly event, and I'm so excited to be here.
Same. Where was that event?
Well, the city.
It was in Manhattan? Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it was at a place called the Saint in the Lower East Side.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I'm using air quotes, but it was actually really nice. And
it was.
I purposely put Alex next to me so I could talk to her because, like I said, just from Instagram, and this is the weird thing about social media, I feel like I know you guys, and I'm sure everyone feels like they know you guys, but you don't know them. So weirdos be coming up to you, I imagine.
But no, I felt like we connected instantly. I was like, we didn't stop talking the entire time. I think I was the last one to leave.
That doesn't sound like Alex at all.
I was like, I could have guessed that I would be the last one to leave because I can't shut the fuck up. Are we allowed to curse on here? I'm sorry.
We are.
It's too late now.
I'm not very reverent.
Okay.
I know. I was a little bummed I wasn't invited. I was like, oh, I guess
Jon,
I'll just...
boys were not allowed.
You know what? They weren't, but honestly, we should have just made an exception for you and Jesse, my fiance. You guys could have just posted up at the bar and just
perfect.
boozed it up and lived your best life. Yeah.
It's true. Jon would have loved that.
That would have been... That sounds like a dream.
Well, now here we are, 6 months later on the pod, talking all things wedding, because what people don't know about you guys, some people do know, but I was very shocked and excited to hear that you guys are wedding industry pros. That's where you got your video skills.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. We were in the wedding industry. Oh my gosh. So actually I was working for another company filming weddings when I met Jon, and then he saw my work and he was like, you have to start your own business. So it was in 2016 when we met, and I started my filmmaking business in 2018 in New York. So we were living in North Carolina at the time, and then we moved up to New York where I knew weddings were just over the top.
It's the Mecca.
Yeah. The tri-state is just the spot to have your wedding, and just the wedding industry as a whole. If you could become someone in the industry there, like you could make it anywhere. And so we were like, let's do it. So John joined me. I trained him how to use a camera. And then
I never held a camera before then.
Yeah. And then we just broke into the wedding industry.
So I'm an occupational therapist. So healthcare, my whole family's healthcare. And then when we moved from Raleigh to New York, I was actually still a licensed therapist practicing. So I would do that, and then I would shoot weddings on the weekend with Al, and she trained me on filming and editing, and then.
So I would edit through the week while John was an occupational therapist, and then we would come together on the weekends and shoot. And then we just did that until the pandemic happened. And like most people in the wedding industry, it completely rocked our year. All of our weddings were postponed. I think we had maybe like 7 weddings that were just micro weddings, maybe like 7 or 10, something like that. So 2020 was a dead year for us, and we weren't sure if our business would survive. Thankfully, John was still a therapist, so he was still able to work. And then that's when I jumped on TikTok. I saw this entertainment app booming. I loved it. It was hilarious. And I was like, we could make videos. And so John would come home exhausted
like,
from his long
not.
days as a therapist. And I'd be like, okay, hear me out. I have this idea. All you have to do is stand there. And he'd be like, just as quickly as possible, let's get this over with. I had to drag him to do it. But I think once our videos started doing well and he was getting some positive feedback, that's when he started to enjoy it a little bit more.
Right. There couldn't have been a better app for Alex.
Would you say how quickly?
Oh, okay. How quickly from when you first posted your first video where she was torturing you to essentially, be her like co-star in her videos, which oftentimes you're wearing a wig, you're wearing crop tops.
I sold my soul to TikTok. Right. I honestly, once we started gaining a following, and then really when brands started reaching out, I was like, we're on to something here that can be lucrative. So I'm all about the money, whatever.
But
whatever takes us there.
I don't think that we ever thought that we would go full time in content because we were so ingrained in the wedding industry and we were only growing. So 2021, we not only had the overflow from the postponed weddings of 2020, but we had just a packed year. So generally in a year, we would film anywhere from like 20 to 25, but we were filming like 38 weddings, I think, in 2021 on top of doing content. So it was just overwhelming.
Too much.
And all of our weddings were in Jersey, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Long Island, like they were everywhere. And so it was a lot of travel.
Yeah, we didn't live in New York. We couldn't afford to live there. So we were like in Virginia or we were in North Carolina. So we must have traveled back and forth at least 16, 17 times in the year, driving back and forth, which was just crazy.
And so it was getting to a point where we were like, we can't do this anymore. Like something's got to give. And then that summer we had management reach out to us on the TikTok side, and they really changed our perspective on how we approached social media and looking at content. And they were like, this could be lucrative for you guys where you don't have to shoot weddings if you don't want to anymore. And we were like, make a 15-second TikTok for a brand and make double the amount that we do for a 14-hour day wedding. It's like a no-brainer. And so that's where we had our sights set on, was ultimately retiring out of weddings. But, our clients were booking us up to 2 years in advance. So we were planning on filming. So 2022, we still shot weddings, and we had clients even booked for this year. But the bigger that we grew on social, the more that we were getting recognized at weddings, and we felt like we were taking away from the couple. It was like, not that we were becoming a distraction, but it was also hard for us to do our jobs when we heard people like snickering or taking pictures of us while we're trying to work. And then it was one wedding that we did in Charleston. We were filming the couple's first look out in public on the street, and people are yelling at us. They're like, Alex and John, we fucking love you. And we're like, thank you, but we can't do
Can you wait
this.
till they do their first kiss, please?
We were like, oh my God, this is just, we were like, at this point, we never want to take away from the couple on their big day. So I think it was after that wedding that we ultimately made the decision to completely do content full time.
I mean, what a whirlwind, because that was really fast. So you said you started posting 2020, and then basically you had to start firing clients in 2020, like 18 months later.
Yeah,
I think that was
essentially
the toughest part for Alex was like trying to find, because we want to do right by like our clients. So we were finding other cinematographers to like cover for us, and we were like paying, because it ended up, weren't we like doing weddings that were like a year before? So everyone's pricing was different. We were like paying the extra.
Well, yeah, everyone obviously raises their prices from year to year, but we also wanted to make sure that all the clients who had booked with us were in even better hands than us. So we were trying to find people who had better films, or, you know, their packages were pretty close to ours, but of course they were all more expensive. So we went out of pocket to make sure that like we covered the difference for our couples, because it was heartbreaking for me. I was like, you know, you guys booked us to shoot your wedding and film it, but we just are not in a place that we can give you 100% anymore, and you deserve 100%. And so it was so difficult for me, because I feel like we had such a strong bond with our couples, or at least I did, because I was like the one communicating with them.
I met him the day of.
Yeah. And so it was really heartbreaking, but at the same time, just a bittersweet feeling. And then, you know, and then we knew that we were moving out to LA too, so we wouldn't be able to come out to New York to film all those weddings this year. But I think it was the best decision for us. It was really challenging, but weddings did lay the foundation for what we do now.
And it helps us out a lot with our videos. I mean, you could, how we shoot it and how we edit it, it was all learned from filming the weddings. So,
well, there's so many things that I want to dive into. First of all, if anyone has never worked a wedding as a professional, they do not know the pain of a 14-hour day, what that does to your body. So you're actually lucky that you're married to someone who knows how to physically repair the body, because you need it after like 14 hours on your feet. I mean, it's brutal. So I understand the draw of doing a 15-second video versus a day where you need like 3 days to recover. There's like a hangover. No alcohol involved, but like a physical.
Oh, no, exactly. We would literally call them, our post-wedding hangovers, just because it was, your body was so shot from lugging gear around, just being on for that amount of time.
Well, half the time we didn't get home till like 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
But then not only that, it's like you shoot for all those hours, but then we were like, oh my gosh, this is now 40 hours of editing that we have ahead of us. I think though that the wedding industry is it's great to learn to be the best at whatever it is that you're doing, because it is so cutthroat and you have one shot to do it. So you have to be anticipating 10 steps ahead before it happens. You have to be ready to shoot and just everything. Like there's just so much that you have to be ready for, because it only happens once and it's such a fast-paced day that I think that is going to, it's like training. It's like the best training for any type of industry that you want to go forward into. I think weddings are just the best for that.
And now that you're retired, right, and you're out of the game, I love that you say retired. It's like the best way to.
Yeah, we are.
And not a career transition, but we've retired from weddings. Like looking back, like were there any crazy like stories of like shit going awry at weddings, like you were shocked by? Like I'm so curious.
So
go ahead.
One of our first weddings that was under our umbrella of our business, that where John, I had trained him. I was like, this is how the wedding day goes, blah, blah, blah.
It was our first wedding of the year.
It was our first wedding of the year. And it was a gorgeous wedding, like probably over a 6-figure wedding. And this was a few years ago too, at this stunning venue. And I was like, wow, this one is going to be top notch. I don't know how to really explain that it was everything but, because
I mean, the wedding itself was
stunning, but the couple was arguing the entire day. So anyway, we saw them. We were like, this is not going to be a match. Like it was tense. There was a lot of stress. Their first look was awkward. Whatever. So we get through the day, and even like the reception, I'm like, someone is doing drugs here. Like I don't know what's going on, but we're going through the footage. And because again, like I said previously, it's hours of footage. So I'm culling through it. It's gorgeous, of course. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna make these two seem like they're in love. They clearly hate each other. So I'm going through a shot from the sunset, and it was gorgeous. And I'm looking, and I remember being there at the wedding day and hearing them arguing. But because I had a long lens on, I was like, I only cared about the composition of the shot, and I was like, whatever, it's beautiful. Let's move on. And I didn't hear what they were bickering about. But as I'm going through the footage, I could see now, like I'm going through, she spits in his face. Hawks a loogie in her husband's face just hours after they had said, I do.
First off, she winds back
she goes,
to spit. She goes like...
And you see
in slow-mo.
In slow-mo, this stunning shot with the sun setting in the background. Light leak coming
spit
through. And just it like the spray of her spit and it landing on his face. And I was like, holy shit. Did this just happen?
You didn't realize it was happening.
No, because I was so far away. And again, when you're shooting, you don't care about like what the couple's actually doing. You're looking at like the framing and the lighting and the settings, and there's a lot of
knew
like
something happened, but we couldn't, because the sun was also like shining in our eyes because it was.
I was like, what is going on? But yeah, they're divorced now. But
was it 6 months?
Yeah, I don't know when they got divorced, but yeah, they got divorced, and I'm not shocked. But I mean,
writing about here.
No, but she got shit faced and was like out of control.
Her boobs came out a few times on the dance floor.
Breast came out. Like,
it was just, it was if anything more sad. But otherwise, like, yeah, it's usually just people drinking. Other than that one wedding, though, because that's always the one that comes to mind when people are like, what crazy shit has happened at weddings? I feel like the majority of our couples were fantastic. Like we had never had really a bridezilla. Of course, maybe 1 out of 20 would have unrealistic expectations, but you could kind of get a vibe of that beforehand. But
everyone was pretty good.
Yeah,
and they were better the longer we did it too. Like every year was different.
The more that we charged, the better the brides were.
I didn't want to say that, but okay.
The better the couples were. But
honestly,
yeah.
There's so much more like low key.
People charge a lot. People charge a lot in weddings. Oftentimes, like obviously your experience goes up, your quality of your work goes up, but then your tolerance for bullshit goes down.
100%.
And so, I mean, that's something I always tell couples, like, hey, if you want to have a good rate from a vendor, they will actually discount if they like you and you guys have a connection, or like they think your wedding's going to be dope, or there's something really interesting, or you really vibe. Vendors will go above and beyond to make it work for your wedding day. But if you are an asshole, you get the asshole tax. And that is a real thing. And the asshole tax could be your mom or your mother-in-law who like is harassing the vendor. And I know just my friends in the industry, like one of the things that they do is like they do multiple interviews with people to like really get like a sense of like what, you know, especially if it's going to be a destination wedding where you're going and you're spending multiple days with people,
multiple events,
you know.
Yeah, because it's not
a whole
just
situation.
Right. And in photo video, you're not just working with them on the day. Like, of course, the day is super important, but you're working with them for the next few months or weeks after their wedding as well. And it's like, if you do not vibe, it goes both ways. Like, yes, you have to like your vendors, but your vendors also have to like you.
Well, you want to work with someone you vibe with either way, whether it's the couple or the vendor, because it's going to make a better project. Yeah. But also, it's not weeks and months. Like we also have
a year later,
couples
like sometimes
reaching out to us now.
Right. Yeah. So it's a long-term relationship that you're getting into.
Yeah. You want to make sure it's not going to be a toxic one.
Right.
Exactly. But I think overall, weddings taught us a lot. I think it's an amazing industry. It's a fun industry. It's an emotional industry. And I think that
it's a lucrative
industry, but it really helped us in regards to our storytelling, our filmmaking overall. Like
also being business owners too. I think just learning a lot about just being a business owner in general, which has helped us
Or
what
just
we're doing
working
now.
with people. I think too, like
True.
it is a people business, and at the end of the day, you're working as a team with all the other vendors to make it a seamless day for your couples. And one thing that we always had to remind ourselves was we've done hundreds of weddings, but this is our couple's first wedding, being the bride, being the groom, going through this experience. And we need to treat it as such for them.
It's the stakes are really high for them, right? And they don't know what they don't know. And that's the one thing that I always hear from couples after their wedding day. And then the advice that I always hear vendors give couples is like, it goes by so fast. Like, just try to soak it all up. And that's why actually I think video is so important, because you forget.
The most
You
important.
forget what happens. You like black out on your wedding day, not from alcohol, but from like the emotional rush of all the endorphins and excitement and exhaustion. You literally can. I mean, I blacked out when my fiance proposed to me. I have no idea what.
Yeah.
And thank God someone took a photo of it, because there was a professional there. But like, otherwise, I could have imagined it that it happened.
Yeah.
We always tell our couples, like, try to take like 5 minutes if you can, just like the two of you, and just like sit back, because that's what we remember. We went in our kitchen when we got, or your parents' kitchen. We just like hung out there for 10 minutes, and that's actually what I remember from our wedding. Just like the two of us
taking a beat with each other. But I always say, I'm like, photo is important, but video is equally important in its own way. And you'll hear it time and time again. Like, people will always still not get video, and that will always be their regret. Their number one regret is not getting video. And I tell, when people couldn't afford us, or if they, didn't like a certain videographer style, or they were like, I don't want one, I'm like, get anyone. Like, get a
Something
cousin.
is better than nothing.
Yes, something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, people always say a photo is like worth 1,000 words or whatever. I'm like, but why wouldn't you just get video? Then everyone's talking on there. I think there's more emotion in a video. I love photo. I'm just giving them a hard time.
Well, you guys did open it up because you did mention your wedding. So I want to like rewind all the way back how you guys met, because I hear you talk a lot about, like, oh, our skills we learned from like being, videographers and cinematographers in the wedding industry. But what has not been addressed, which is like, John, did you know that Alex is a full-blown comedian when you met her? Like, was that why you fell in love with her and decided to? I mean, you're funny too. Don't get me wrong. You play ball, but she's got a couple screws loose. You can tell. To be able to.
She's crazy. I always say I go back to our first date, because Tinder. I feel like when you go on that, we met on Tinder, and when you do Tinder, it almost turns into like an interview. It's like the same questions, same thing all the time. And I remember meeting Alex at the beer garden in Raleigh, and we go there. I'm thinking we're just gonna have a drink. Alex orders like a full pizza, like a full size pizza, and she's just like hanging out eating pizza. And I've like never seen that before.
You act as if like that is the most crazy thing.
Well, you never know. You'd think like, oh, maybe just like a drink, get to meet each other just for a little bit. We're not gonna be there long, and we like hung out, and it was so natural. But yeah, she's
the
crazy.
girl was hungry. Let her have her
Exactly. Let me eat. Like, what do you mean? I just like, what's crazy to me is that John thinks that's so crazy. I'm like, yeah, I was really off the wall for ordering a pizza. But yeah, we met on Tinder. I think it was
girls are weird about eating on dates. Like, and also like dating for a long time, being single in New York City. Like, I would never commit to a dinner because I was like,
exactly.
If the person, especially with an online date, if they were like wacky, I'm like, I can't commit 3 hours to this. Like, I'll meet for a drink. If the vibe is good, then it's like, yeah, let's get an appetizer or an entree and dessert, right? Depending on what the three was. She just went straight in full pie.
I guess Alex just knew I was the one from the beginning.
No,
I needed a little more.
I think
time.
I like looked at the pizza as if it was an appetizer. I was like, just a quick bite, just a little bite. But yeah, we it was so natural for us right away. I think like we knew that like our personalities vibed right off the bat. Like we just had so much fun together, but it wasn't like rainbows and butterflies. I think I was recently out of a relationship and was just like looking to date around. John was looking to settle down. And so he wanted to, be exclusive. And I was like, no, I'm having too much fun being a single Sally. Like, let me live my life. So we
were touch and go for like 7 months.
Yeah, but it was nice because it laid a foundation of like, we got to know each other longer. And then it got to a point where John was like, no, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's me or I'm gone.
I won in the end.
And then I was like, dang it. I'm your queen.
If people who are listening can't see this video, John's mustache had a little smirk as he was saying that he won.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, right.
Yeah.
No, what I really liked about Alex, I mean, she's hilarious, but I knew from the beginning, I didn't like how talented she was huge to me. I'm like, when I saw her first wedding film, I was like, my God, I've never seen anything like this before. Like, you should do this on your own. And I'm going to ride those coattails. You better take me with you. Let's do this thing.
And here we are. Yeah.
I know to attach myself to people with talent.
John invested low.
That's right. I invested low and rode it to the top.
Yeah. He saw the potential. but yeah,
So
and then I think we met in 2016 on Tinder, but then we got married in 2019. So it wasn't like we were dating for super long,
And then we had to film a wedding right after our wedding.
Yeah.
Like 3 days afterwards.
But being in the industry, we knew we did not want to get married at a venue. So thankfully my parents, they have a beautiful piece of property on Long Island. And I was like, can we get married here? And they said yes. And we, you don't necessarily save money doing a backyard wedding, but it is something so special and unique, I think, for your guest. So having it in my parents' backyard, I think, was one of the highlights of just because we got married, but
when she told me she wanted in the backyard, I'm like, I don't see this at all. The pool, they have a pool, and it's like directly in the middle of the backyard. I'm like, how is this going to work? Someone's going to fall in the pool. I'm like, and you want to tent it? What do you mean you're going to tent the pool?
John was like, it's going to look so tacky. He's like, it's going to be a backyard wedding. No. And I was like, John,
it came out amazing.
You have to have a vision. And I was like, just leave it to me.
She's got a vision.
Yeah.
I'll just follow along. I'm like, sure. Exactly.
But I want to ask before you're planning the wedding, I want to hear about the proposal. So John, you were looking to settle down. I need to know, did he have the mustache at the time? Because that's an important visual for me. Like, as you're dating, is this a new thing? The mustache new, or did he always have it?
No. When did you do the mustache? I think he did it once.
I did it as a joke.
At one point,
and then Alex was like, "This is turning me on."
I was like, "Ew, John, don't shave a mustache." And then I saw him with it, and I was like, "What's wrong with me? What's happening? Why do I like this?" But then he didn't have it for. I was like, something is wrong with me. I'm very attracted to this right now. And then
my 80s
you went back
stash.
to your beard. You didn't have a mustache, I think, until during the pandemic, because all of our content, the beginning few videos, like you didn't have a mustache.
You know why I actually do this though? Because I'm looking at our wedding photos, and I had the beard, and I can't really grow it, and it's so like spotty and look gross. I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. I can't grow a beard, so that's all I got.
As he's trying to do it right now. The patches, and I'm like really encouraging him through it. I'm like, if it gets long enough, it'll fill in, or maybe there's that like paint.
That's a lie.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it never filled in, but I think you have a solid stash, so that works. But yeah, it wasn't something that he had really when we were dating. This is more of like a pandemic thing that's stuck, and I think it became
like a thing now.
Yeah,
so I got to keep it.
Right. It was part of his brand. Exactly.
Part of the brand.
But proposal wise, I knew John was proposing. We had a trip planned to Hawaii.
Don't tell me any secrets. I can't keep anything.
You secrets. You're supposed to.
I don't. Whatever. And I got the ring. I was just so stressed out because we went to Hawaii. I had the ring in my pocket on the plane. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking lose this thing. And then as soon as we got to Hawaii, I'm like, guess what we're gonna do right now? We're gonna go on a hike.
He goes, we're going to stop at the store, grab a bottle of champagne, and we're going to go on a hike. And in my brain, I'm like, John would never suggest to go on a hike. He hates hikes and he hates champagne. So I know what's happening. I'm getting engaged.
I did it. So we're there for like a week, or no, we met your parents there afterwards. So we're there for almost a week and a half, 2 weeks. I did it the first day. I'm like, I'm getting this over with immediately.
So he does it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that this was coming. But obviously, I was super excited. And
I also needed Alex to set the camera up. I'm like, let's get a shot of us walking to the edge of the cliff. I'm like, but set this up real quick.
But like, part of me was also like, you know, you don't want to assume, because then I was like, I don't want to be disappointed if this isn't it. But like, there's no way that he's not proposing right now. But also, don't get excited because it might not happen, but it did. And then he proposed, and the hike that we went on, it was, I don't know if there's levels for hikes, so like hard. how they do for
I was trying to do it over this waterfall, waterfall that everyone loves to hike.
But it was extreme conditions.
It was raining. It was muddy.
We hiked.
We had all the camera gear,
miles out, and then we had to do another 4 back. And I'm like, you know what? And when you first get engaged, you treat your engagement ring like it is the most precious thing, and it is. But then once you've been engaged for a while, you're like, you know, you're doing everything. You never take your ring off. But I was like, this is so fresh. It's new. It's beautiful. Put it back in your bag. I'll put it back on after this hike. I ate shit walking back. Like, I was covered in mud. I slammed the camera.
She landed on the ring.
Yeah.
It's like in the back. She like landed backwards on it.
Right. But that was that in Hawaii. And then we got married exactly 1 year later.
So when we go to Hawaii, we try to.
Dad?
Oh, yeah. Actually, what kind of a.
Give me that.
Well,
I've seen videos where your dad's in them, Alex, where you like low key roast your dad and say gross things about, not gross, but like sexual things in front of him. Which I commented on one of them, like, need more of your dad. And I think my comment has gotten like 3,000 likes because everyone apparently loves his dad. And I was the first to say it. So I'm curious about that impact.
They're actually the same person. They're both sexually aggressive people. They both say the most uncomfortable things, and they both know it makes me uncomfortable, so they love doing it to me.
I won't say anything on this podcast, John, but after hours.
Oh my God. But he actually was the reason why I proposed at the time when I did, because he said something like shit or get off the pot. And I'm like,
we went to a wedding, and I think John got super inspired by our friends getting married. And it was a week later that we're at the gym, and you were like, my dad called you, because I guess you were texting him like, hey, can we chat at some point? And my dad was like, what are you doing now? And you go, I gotta leave. I need to go talk to your dad. And I go, John, like, do you like want to keep anything a surprise for me? Because like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Like, I know exactly what you're going to do. And he's like, I don't know, Alex, I can't keep secrets. I gotta go talk to your dad right now. And I'm like, I literally knew every step of the way what was happening, because John told me. He didn't even try to keep it a secret. He goes, hey, I gotta leave the gym. I'm gonna go talk to your dad. Cool. So I called my best friend, and I go, John literally just told me he's going to talk to my dad. She goes, about what? And I was like, what do you think? What do you think? Like, no secrets, no surprises here.
But
I don't know what to say to that. Whatever.
Trying to? Were you like ready for the ring, or
no? So we had been.
That's true. I never asked. Were you like ready to get married?
I think because
I never even asked her that.
The thing is, like, when people ask me, they're like, how do you get your boyfriend to propose? I'm like, I don't know, because I didn't have to lift a finger. Like, I never was like, let's do it. Like, when is it happening? I think it just happened at the perfect time that I was like, if he does propose, like, I knew I wanted to marry him, but I wasn't to the point where I was like, good Lord, what is taking so long? You know, I think it just happened so naturally for the both of us. It was the perfect time for both of us, but I wasn't like not ready, but I wasn't waiting around, you know, like I think a lot of people experience. I think.
Wait, now that I'm thinking about this, we were in Mexico once, and all I did was turn around. I had to ask her a question about our room or something, like, where's our room? And she goes, do not propose to me right now. I'm like, I wasn't even close. I wasn't even close to kneeling. I just turned around to ask you where our hotel room is.
Because I was like, I know he's gonna propose to me because he's obsessed with me.
Okay. Okay.
But I was like, we've only been dating for like 9 months, John. At least make it to a year. So I think we were together for like a year and a half when he proposed, which I feel like was good. But now looking back, I'm 31 now. I got married at 27 and I'm like, I was a child bride. What was I doing? Honestly, like how could my parents have let me marry you at 27? I was a child. But
I think we've also been through a lot together even before then, just like moving across, state lines and working together and having the business together. And I already felt like we were married.
Yeah.
It's like one last step. Get it done.
I didn't quite get why you guys were in North Carolina. That's where you met. You were in North Carolina, both living there. But Alex, you're from Long Island?
Yes. Yeah. I'm from Long Island. I went to North Carolina State University. So after I graduated from NC State, I loved Raleigh and I decided to stay there for a few years. And then that's when I met John, was living there afterwards. And then when we met, he was like, let's do this wedding thing. You start it. We'll do this together. And then we moved to New York.
I was born in Connecticut, lived in Virginia most of my life. And then I ended up going to Raleigh for one of my clinical rotations for occupational therapy. And then I loved it there. And my parents actually moved there. So then I just like hung out there, liked it. And then I met Alex there. That's how
we've like jumped around to so many states that when people are like, I don't understand, like, why were you moving around? Like, we were like, we don't know. We don't even know. We liked Raleigh and then we went to New York. And when we wanted to buy a house there, it was too expensive. We were like, let's just go back to the South. And then all of our business was in New York. So we just traveled. We just made our lives way more stressful than they needed to be.
Possible.
Exactly.
We just couldn't afford to live in New York either. Yeah.
We get asked this question a lot, I think because we were born and raised on the East Coast. But what I do love about LA, I can't even say the weather because the weather this year has just been trash. But I love how everyone is so creative here. Like everyone is always working on developing something for themselves. And I think that that's what's so beautiful about like just meeting people, chatting with people is just, you never know.
You never know who you're going to meet.
Who you're going to meet, but what someone is working on. And so I just love that. I love that like we're around other creatives and other like-minded individuals. It's a melting pot of people. Like most people here are not from LA or born and raised.
I'm definitely more comfortable doing what we're doing here than any other state we've been in. So.
And what I like about living here as well is I think that there's always room to grow and learn from people in the industry that we're in. Like living in Virginia, there wasn't many other content creators or filmmakers that we could really look up to there or learn from. I'm sure if we looked for them, maybe we could have found like a small niche of people. But here, we could always find a new network of people to learn from and grow.
I'm not even going to pretend like I'm creative. I'm not. I'm not creative.
But John is a muse for me because he just is
it's all stuff
naturally funny. And because I think like, I don't even know, like you're like a Larry David in that like you're miserable and just things happen to you, like bad things. And so I just observe John and I'm like, okay, this could be a video. And just his reactions to things make it so easy to create and think of ideas because you're just very inspiring, John.
Wow. Wow, thank you.
But I think ultimately it's not. That is it. I should ask maybe people to write in. Every interaction I look at, how can I make this into content? Like
she's always thinking about
I'm always
content.
thinking and I'm always writing things down. Like the littlest thing, like an ice cube falling out of the freezer. I'm like, this could probably be a video. Like the smallest things. I'm just hyper aware of interactions and just little things that happen to us throughout the day. And I'm always thinking, can this be flipped into something funny? Because
like the other day, Kobe, like we'll drop like a little morsel of food. It'll be like, Kobe, come eat this. And it's literally like a speck of rice.
Yeah,
I'm like, this should be a video.
Like, he's our he's our living vacuum cleaner. And I'm like, how pissed is he probably that like we get him up from his stupid little cute nap and we're like, come pick up this piece of a chip.
Sound asleep.
Yeah. So it's just everything. I'm always looking for inspiration.
Kat, your cousin, how did that like is it just like a
She's the
family
worst.
genetic thing that you guys happen to be all TikTok superstars? Like what are the chances
I
that y'all are
know.
related? And Alex, that you found your,
Honestly, it's
co-content
crazy.
conspirator.
I just think she's really upset that my aunt likes me more than her and then likes my content more. So, she's really trying to ride my coattails, basically.
She's trying to ride John's coattails.
For sure. No, so
Yeah.
the whole cousin thing, we just kind of came up with it, and it took off, and people thought that we were actual cousins.
It's like and anyone who listens to your podcast are really getting the behind the scenes. But it is something that is a common joke that a lot of close content creators do, is just joke about being cousins. So Kat and I were like, let's just joke that we're cousins. And we were like, well, wait a minute. Wouldn't it be better if you and John were cousins? So one video, we were like, let's just put it out there. And people, of course, believed us, because why would we lie, I guess? But it is just like a joke that a lot of content creators do. And so we were like, let's just run with it. But most people do know that John and Kat are not actually related. It is just like a content joke and trend.
Yeah, it works for our
I
content,
refuse
too.
to believe that.
Yeah, see? And now it's like, maybe they are.
It's a lie, fake news.
Yeah. But we love Kat. She has become one of our close friends from content. She loves to come out to LA, but she's another one who's skit based. And so whenever we get together, we just like come up with ideas, endless ideas. And it's almost like we just never have enough time to film everything. But she's just one of those other wildly creative people that once we're in the same room, it's just fun to collab with other really creative individuals. And she's just hilarious.
Yeah, we just like blend really well together, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's like the certain type of content, I think, when it comes to like collaborations, we usually don't collab with people unless they're skip based, because like we do comedy stuff. But in real life, I can only speak for myself, but I generally love everyone. John is more of the hard one to win over.
Okay.
He's more selective.
Well, just when it comes to content, like you said, it's skip based. If you're not skip based, I don't really feel like doing your content. It's basically what it comes down
like pranks, we've tried to do the prank realm, and it just is not up our.
Or like
in our
faking
wheelhouse.
an emotion. It's pretty tough.
But I guess you fake it when you're acting,
Or
in
I
your
guess
skit.
faking surprise.
Well, John, I hope that, I made the cut as content on this podcast, that you took the time out of your day to join. I
You made the
appreciate
cut.
that. And I imagine Alex did some convincing to get you to make an appearance. So, bow down and really thank you for your time for the
thank you.
collaboration.
None. It was the second I
No.
came back from that Loverly event where I said, I'm in love, John.
I was like, well, I have to meet this lady now. No, but thank you. It's great. No, we're honored to be on your podcast. So thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. And I can't wait to see you again this summer.
I better be invited.
John, you're not. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
I'm invited.
No.
You will
I'm
be.
inviting myself.
Spa event this time, John. You even know how to spa well. That's the
Yeah, exactly. I'm ready.
It's true. Yeah.
I'll put some lotion on my face or little cucumbers. I'm ready.
That's exactly how it goes, John.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode. If you've enjoyed this podcast and want more inspiration and guidance, check out our new and improved wedding planning platform at loverly.com, where we offer free wedding planning tools and advice to get you hitched without a hitch. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Loverly. Happy planning.